Welcome back to the Full Fan Highlights Show. Newcastle 2, Tottenham 2. In the other game tonight, Fulham 4, Man City 5. It was an epic. It was almost right at the death. A disastrous night for Man City, but that is 6 goals conceded in the last 2 games for them. Yes, they have won. Yes, they have won the game, but I know City fans and their standards are going to still be frustrated with that overall. We're looking at that. We're looking at the Newcastle Spurs game. Were Spurs robbed? Was it wrong for VAR to award this penalty right at the end? What do you think? What do you feel? What's your views? What's your opinions on this? A lot of Tottenham fans in my group chats, a lot of Tottenham fans that are friends and family of mine, absolutely adamant that this should not have been a penalty. Obviously, want to get your views, want to get your opinions, want to know what you're thinking, feeling, etc., etc., etc. I'm actually going to put a better image in than that. That feels a bit. I've redone it. I've just. Why is it not loaded through it? Oh, have I closed? Sometimes I do this by mistake. I shut down the program that the pictures get uploaded from before it's downloaded. Did I not do it? I think I'll get a better picture in a minute because that feels a bit dark to me. But look, I thoroughly enjoyed the Fulham Man City game tonight. And I wanted to start with that for a moment, just as the audience is coming in. I wanted to start with that game because City got the points tonight. That can't be denied. You know, they're tracking towards 76 points this season. 2 wins on the bounce. It might even be 3 wins on the bounce. 2 wins on the bounce, I think it is for them now. But there's something wrong with their second half performances. Lackluster, no energy, no enthusiasm. And yes, the points are there, but when you look at the performances, nowhere near where Pep Guardiola will want this team to be. You can't be conceding with this regularity. And at some point, it's going to cost you. To put it into context, City, yes, may have won their last 2 games, but they've conceded almost as many goals in 2 games as Arsenal, the league leaders, have conceded all season. And that must be looked at. And I'll say as well, Fulham haven't been particularly great this season, sitting, 15th, 16th in the league. Leeds United are a relegation team, and that's who they've conceded to. What sort of stands to reason is to ask the question, what if this was a team sitting top of the league, 3rd in the league, 5th in the league, 6th in the league, 8th in the league? What if it was one of those teams that sits in that kind of top echelon? What if it was them? How much different would this game have been for City? They've got to sharpen up in that regard. Now, on the positive side for Man City, I'll say a couple of things. Phil Foden is back to his best. I'm so glad he's shutting people up. I'm so glad that bad season is behind him. I felt that he was utterly disrespected last year. Everything he'd built up, his legacy that he'd built up, all those games, all those performances sort of almost being dismissed by people because of one bad season. So I'm very, very glad indeed that is behind him and that he is now showing his true self in that regard. Erling Haaland gets to 100 Premier League goals in 111 games, beating Alan Shearer's record, already beaten Harry Kane's. Harry Kane did it in 144, I think. I think Shearer's was to 126, but he does it in 111 games. A couple of assists for him tonight as well. They were standouts. I thought Reinders had a good first half as an example. I thought Doku, again, had a good game. I still don't get why. I know there's a lot of games coming up. There's 3 more games in the next 10 days for City. I felt that was a mistake again, bringing him off. I thought he played well. But outside of that, it's hard because the first half, I thought City was so comfortable. I thought City cruised into a 3-0 lead, conceded right at the end, then scored 2 very quick goals in the second half, 5-1 up. The lack of performance after that, it's for me so un-City, it's so un-Pep. And I think a lot of City fans will feel that it overshadows things somewhat as well. So, look, I want to get your views. I want to get your opinions. I want to know what you think and feel in relation to this in that comment section below. But look, 3 points is there. That's a really important element. But I can see Kel's face backstage since she's come on. And she's had an hour to calm down. And I'm actually scared. Like a little bit of pee came out when she came on. Like she looks fuming of me, not her. She's very scary when she gets upset, Kel. She doesn't look very happy at all. So Kate's also looking like fate's our thunder and all. The two of them together, I might just leave and let them host. I'm not going to lie. Might just go. See you later, ladies. On to the other game. And football's weird, isn't it? Isn't football, how do I say this in the right way? Results-based analysis is stupid. Genuinely, results-based analysis is stupid. Because Newcastle United, if you look at them in recent games, recent weeks as an example, they have beaten Manchester City. So they beat Bilbao as an example. They got smashed up by Brentford 3-1. They beat Man City. They lose to Marseille. They then slap up Everton. Everton, who then tonight went away to Bournemouth and won, who won with 10 men away at Man United. And then they draw to Tottenham tonight. Tottenham, of whom only had 2 shots on target in the whole game, have been absolutely horrendous as of late. Haven't won since their 4-0 win over Copenhagen in the Champions League. I don't remember their last Premier League win. I'm just taking the butchers at that now. Their last Premier League win came back on the 26th of October. That's my brother's birthday. That 3-0 win, ironically, against Everton, who got slapped up by Newcastle. That's why you can't do results-based analysis. You can't just look at an individual game, whether you're assessing a player. We said it about Caicedo, didn't we, the other day, that just because he got himself sent off, it doesn't end any debates. It doesn't mean he's not as good as we all think he is. And we do that a lot. We wait for a bad game or a bad moment or a bad mistake, and how many times you see people go, yeah, you ain't better than us. We beat you this season. Bro, we're 20 points ahead of you. We are better than you. Those kind of debates I just find are a little bit juvenile. And that's what I found funny about tonight's game because of who they've all beaten and lost to in recent weeks. I still think Spurs are in trouble. If I'm being honest with you, it was another abject performance for large parts of the game. What I will say about tonight, though, and this is where I've got a lot of love for Newcastle. And a lot of that grew out of the way they were treated by Mike Ashley. I can't stand multi-millionaire, billionaire owners treating the working class people that built these clubs in our country the way they do. I just despise it on every level. So I built up a bit of an affinity. But you know one thing about St. James's Park and the fans there that piss me off? And it's very personal. I know when Man United go there, that crowd is rocking. Rocking. Where was the atmosphere tonight? And don't tell me, Simon Jordan said it the other day, fans have to react to what players are doing. No, I've seen you before the start of Man United games. It's crazy. The atmosphere is magnificent. And you continue that even if we score. Yet tonight, it was like a morgue. I thought somebody, honestly, I didn't know. I thought there was a funeral going on. Are they hiring out for funerals at the same time to raise money? What's going on? Because you made it easier for Tottenham, a team devoid of confidence. Yes, their away form has actually been pretty good this season, but devoid of confidence. They didn't have a shot on target until Bergvall got that lovely little flick towards it. We didn't go on target. Didn't have a shot on target in the first half again. I think that's 4 games running. And your crowd was sitting there like you were eating prawn sandwiches. I just thought it was really disappointing for such a raucous and passionate people, the Geordies. It was poor. You were the better team, Newcastle. If you'd have won 2-1 at the end, you'd have deserved it, but you bottled it. And it's kind of been the story of your season. I have watched, I think, all but one of your games and felt you were by and large the better team in most of them. Arsenal game, probably not. There's a couple of others maybe where you weren't the best team that are now in the Prem that elude me. I'm just going to go back and have a little look now because I'll remember it when I see it. What game didn't I think you were very good in that you lost? It's not very many, you know. The Arsenal were better than you. I thought West Ham were better than you as well. Even Brentford, I know beat you 3-1, but I thought for large parts of that game, I still thought you were the better team, if I'm being absolutely honest. But tonight, it was just, you were the better team again, but you just let it go. You let up. But the big question is, were Tottenham robbed? And I want to speak about this because if it was Chelsea, if it was Liverpool, if it was Arsenal, if it was Man United, we'd be having this conversation. Do you think this was a penalty? Do you think this foul, it was given as a foul, on Dan Burn, by who I believe it is, Bentancur. Do you believe this was a penalty? I can't wait to see your opinions on it. Jamie Carragher on commentary was saying, no, not a chance. It can't be. It won't be. Not enough on it. What do you think? How would you feel if this foul was committed against one of your players? I suppose that's maybe a better question here. How would you feel if it was committed against you? How would you feel if it was at the other end of the pitch? Now, I'm going to piss some people off here. I know I am. But for me, I felt it was a penalty. For me, I felt it was a foul. I'm still asking the question whether it was robbed because it's an open debate. But the reason why I think it's a foul is he's not trying to win the ball. He's trying to stop the player. Now, how do I say this in the right way? Dan Burns is, he's got a twin brother, right? He's on tins of sweet corn. The Jolly Green Giant. You've seen him. He's a big geezer. Because he's 7 foot something and he probably weighs about 17 stone, that's why people don't think this is a foul. But that's irrelevant. It's absolutely irrelevant. Bentancur is not trying to win the ball. I understand you can't look at the ball the whole time and mark someone. It's a bit like when you're reversing your car. When you're reversing your car, you sort of look behind you, you look in the mirror, you look this way. You keep looking around you, right? That's what you have to do when you're marking from a corner. If you've never played football, you won't understand. If you don't drive, you won't understand. It's easier now because cars have got cameras, but you have to look, right? And Bentancur's not doing any of that. He's got his arm around the plate, won't let him run, and he tries to style it. And I've got to give him credit because it nearly worked. It nearly worked. He did the whole, I'm not holding anymore. He's running into me. But we all know what he's doing. He's pushing his weight into him to stop him. And the reason why the penalty was given fully is because that flick on goes to exactly where Dan Burn would have been. And for me, the reason I'm saying I would give it is because there's no attempt to try and win the ball. I don't mind a little bit of jostling, but he's not trying to win the ball. Bentancur has no idea where the ball is. So he's not defending the play. He's stopping the man. And I would want the penalty in the other direction. I would want the penalty in the other direction. I would say that it's a penalty because you just can't do that. If it's the other way round and Dan Burn did that to Bentancur so we could get to a ball, or he was blocking somebody else, every Spurs fan would say, got to have a free kick, ref. I know you would. So I don't think it was the wrong decision. I disagree with Jamie Carragher. I think they actually made the right call here, VAR. But everyone will see it different. I want your views. I want your opinions. But I'll end this by saying, look, I think Spurs are still in trouble. I don't actually think Thomas Frank is the root cause problem. I've said that all along. I think the club's got this Tottenham dysphoria. They don't know what they are. What they think they are is different to the reality of the situation. And they've got to resolve that. I don't quite, therapy ain't going to work for them, but they need some kind of help in that relation. I felt the players for large parts of the game didn't look like they wanted to work, but they came alive a little bit more in the second half. They came alive when they conceded goals as well, which is important. But I suppose my question would be, where was that intensity? Where was that energy? Where was that fight when it was 0-0? Goes back to the same old, that's not a system issue. That's not even a quality issue. That is a mentality issue, a behavioural issue, which has existed at Tottenham for the vast majority of my life. So I'm always at a point where I'm not even looking at Thomas Frank. I'm like, no, Jose and Conte couldn't solve it. Why is Thomas Frank going to suddenly have this magic wand? But they did very well to stay in the game. And I think Newcastle should be wholly disappointed to have dropped points in this match tonight. You're playing a Tottenham team on its arse. You're playing a Tottenham team that's getting towards 2 months without a win in the Premier League. You led twice. You got better players. You got a better manager. And you weren't able to see it through. But as ever, look, I want your thoughts. I want your opinions in that comment section below. Let us know what you think and feel. But a big point, really, in the grand scheme of things for Tottenham away at Newcastle. That can't be taken away from them. But Newcastle, you bottled it. You bottled it. They did. I know it's triggered a few people, but I don't care. I'm only telling you the truth as I see it. If you don't like it, comment. You know what I mean? I'm not getting gassed, though. Tomorrow will tell. From a Chelsea fan. Yeah, I wouldn't be getting gassed yet. Never a penalty, Terry. If you are looking at it properly, he was not holding him when the ball came. I am still frank out, but VAR is a disgrace. Yeah, it's not about holding him, though. I agree, he didn't have his arms around him. But I'd love you to be in the room with me right now because I show it on you. He was stopping him. He was stopping him from being able to move. And you're not allowed to do that. You can't. It was like a rugby tackle. He had like a scrum. It was like a scrum in rugby. I'm not too. You're in Australia. You know what rugby is. It was like a rugby. It was like a ruck. He's got his head under him, and he's doing the whole. Oh, he's pushing me. He's pushing me. Whilst he's not moving out the way. Move out the way. You're not allowed to just stand there like that. It's a foul. But I hear you. I do hear you. What do you mean? What the fuck? When you guys say pause, why are you all so insecure about yourselves? Me showing a man what I mean in a footballing sense, why is that making you all so homophobic? What's going on here? Listen, man, you got to talk to someone, bruv. Doctor needed, I think, here. Or a priest, I don't know. Eddie Howe out. Come on now. Don't say that. David will be going mad backstage. This here says, we all know what Tottenham are. What do you think of Tottenham? This isn't for me to sing. This is for Arsenal fans to sing. I'm not joining in with that. I'm not joining in with that song. Bro, Terry, they all do that in football. The idea is to stop a player without pulling them down. No, they don't. What Bentancur did does not happen on every single corner. Not the way he did it. It just doesn't. He doesn't. There was no attempt to try and win the ball. I don't think so. I don't personally think so. I think it's a penalty, but not consistent enough. I do agree with you. I think more of them should be given because I don't think defenders should be able to foul attackers to stop them from winning the ball. Totally agree with that. More should be given, not less. That's a much better challenge. He wasn't even facing the ball ever. But that's just it. Yeah, and I agree. Like if he's looking at the ball and then he steps in front of the player because you're allowed to get goal side, it's different. But he's got his back to play and he's just stopping the man. It's obstruction. Absolute obstruction. I'm not pissed. Fulham made City look good with a terrible, nonchalant defense. Whereas when they met Arsenal or anytime they meet Arsenal, their defense is 99% strong, annoying mentality. Look, I think City's attack is very good, but I wonder what you'd have if I'd have told somebody earlier on today Fulham are going to score 4 goals tonight but not win or draw, you'd have gone fuck off. Wait, Terry, how are you supposed to mark a 7-foot Dan Burn? Not by fouling him. Just because someone's 7 foot doesn't mean you can foul them. Imagine that. It says it in the laws. You cannot commit a foul in the penalty box unless the person is 7 foot tall. Then we change the law of the game. By the way, if Burn had been a smaller man, if he was, say, 5'10", 6 foot, a lot lighter, everybody would be screaming for it to be a penalty. Screaming for it to be a penalty. It's only because he's a big bloke and it's harder. The Man United got one against Fulham earlier on in the season. And initially, I didn't think penalty. The more I've watched it, the more I think it is. And I think it was Neeks in one of our group chats who said it's because there's such a size difference in the players. When Bassi throws him, his legs go in the air, right? Because he's much heavier and stronger bloke. So it looks more of a foul. Now, if he did that to Dan Burn, he wouldn't have moved him. But that doesn't mean it isn't a foul. Just sometimes maybe the bigger guys get fouled more, but you just don't notice it as much. Still a foul for me. Fulham, what a game. Yeah, it was fantastic. Right, we're going to bring the panel out now to have their say on the show. If you haven't done so already, get that like button smashed for us. Get yourselves subscribing. We've got Kate coming on. We've got young Ethan. We've got Hamza. Hamza's here with his head. We've got Kane coming on. Not Harry Kane. Homeless Andy Carroll Kane is coming on. And we've got Kel, who I haven't seen smile for about 3 weeks. And it's always nice when Kel gives us a smile. Right, let me move my screen out the way like this. There it is. Let me move myself over to... It's the wrong one, Tel. I'm not very technically minded, you see. It's because I'm old. It used to be, not anymore. I nearly stopped my camera. That's not what I want to do. I want to press this button, don't I? All right, let's bring everybody out to have their say on the show. Evening, one and all. Hope you're all good. Congrats on the win, Kel and Hamza. Congratulations. I'm going to go to you first, Kel, actually. You okay?
Hey, man, the Barclays is back. What can we say? Prime Barclays right there.
What did you make of City tonight? Because it was almost a game of completely two halves again.
Yeah, these managers, some of these, Marco Silva's a pretty decent manager, but like bum managers like the guy managing Leeds, again, just finding ways to just completely disrupt the whole team. I think our midfield is in shambles right now. We don't have any duel winners in there. The only guy who's winning any duels is an 8 who's learning how to play a 6 and is struggling very hard. He's struggling a lot to be a 6. It's a hard role. A Pep Guardiola 6 I think is the hardest position in football. But he's by himself because Bernardo Silva is offering nothing. Captain Bernardo Silva offering absolutely nothing. I thought he was terrible today. Just absolutely awful. Clear the ball. Don't give him a third goal. Clear the ball. What are you doing? I don't get it. Like these second half collapses are taking years off of my life. It's only a matter of time till we start dropping points. This feels just like last season where we're just kind of scraping by and then it's probably going to implode again because we're not rotating the squad at all. So it's the same 11 getting burnt out. There's a lot of players desperate to rest. I think Vardiel needs to be benched. He was awful again today. And I think he's our best defender. He was terrible. John Stones gave us nothing when he came on. I don't know why John Stones is coming on as a DM. Like we need a backup for our backup DM because I don't know where Rodri is. I literally don't know where he. I don't think we can count on him. I mean, and it's hurting us really badly because there's just no stability in that midfield. I'm going to give a little credit to Ryan Cherky today, though. I thought when he came on, we looked a lot calmer. I mean, the damage had already been done, but we at least could hold the ball when he came on. And that was something that was just not happening before he came on. When Doku subbed off, that period between Doku subbing off and Cherky coming on, it was just a disaster. It was a basketball game, and we're not equipped for that. So, I don't know. 3 points, okay, whatever. But, I don't know. Then that's not a crazy game. And I think I lost about 5 years of my life. That was very stressful.
No, listen, I hear you. I hear the criticism and I understand the frustration because, yes, there's 3 points and, yes, it's a win. But you do feel like a bit, I don't know if Hamza agrees, you feel like a bit of a ticking time bomb at the moment. And you guys know how good you've got to be to win the league. And the performances are just not there right now.
Yeah, the performances are not there. And then I just think that the squad's just not good enough. Like these players, we've been playing the same 11 and they're just not good enough. Like that midfield just has nothing. This is just like last season. It's carbon copy. And I like I said, I think it's going to fall off a cliff soon. I hope it doesn't, but I'm seeing the cracks and, it's just a matter of time till a better team exploits it. Like Sunderland could do it to us on Saturday. Like I'm very, very nervous about that game. Sorry to the Newcastle fans. I don't want to trigger you.
No, I hear you. I really do. Kate, the other end of the country, would it have been? Yes, it would have been. London and Newcastle pretty far apart. What did you make of Tottenham tonight, Kate? You got the point. A lot of you thought you would lose the game. What did you make of your boys?
Well, we didn't play well. I thought we played better in the second half, but Terry, I'm baffled. How the fuck you think that's a penalty? If that's a penalty, I'll never watch football because you'll see that every week. That guy had my player in a fucking headlock. He had him in a headlock and wrestled him to the floor. Yeah, it is true. It is true. Let me speak. The first couple of seconds, Benton Kerr is pulling Burn, but the ball's not in play. You can't give a penalty when the ball is at the corner flag, when it's not in play. As soon as that ball goes in play, Burn twists his body round, puts Benton Kerr in a headlock, puts his full fucking lanky weight on him and pulls him to the ground. The lanky prick. He's a cheat. He knew it weren't a penalty. He didn't appeal for a penalty. He walked away baffled at what the fuck VAR was looking at. And thank God there's a little bit of justice in football because we equalised. But that is one of the most... I've just gone through Twitter and probably liked 100 comments from fans of United, Liverpool, Arsenal, City, all over. Every single fan from every single club saying that is absolutely disgraceful decision. And if that is going to be a precedent that's set, we will see penalties. We will see that incident this week in another game. I guarantee it, and it will not be given.
I hear what you're saying, but you are wrong, Kate.
Yeah.
And
I would like to ask one question, though, Kate.
Go on.
What? Sorry?
How would you describe a headlock? If you were to put
he had his I can't do it. I don't bend that way.
Let me put that action there.
Sorry.
Now explain how your description correlates to Dan Burns' both arms being up like this.
It's
So how am I
no one's
getting in a
Werner. I've
headlock?
just watched it again. It's on the
Guys, we can argue or I can show you it. I mean, it's probably easier, right? So this is on the screen. So it will be in slow mo because I can't play the full motion. So that's where you can see Bentancur has got his arm around him, as you can see. As it plays forward, I can only do it in slow motion. Bentancur is now doing I can't get out. Look, Dan Burns' arms are both out to the side. That is not a headlock.
Bentancur in his armpit.
No, yes, but
that is the height difference, and because of Bentancur's initial action. If you watch Bentancur's initial action, he bends down and literally tries to rugby tackle the guy, and because of Dan Burns' height, he ends up under his armpit. But as you can see, how can he have him in a headlock if his arms are not around his neck? They're out wide.
At any point, Bentancur can pull himself away, but he doesn't. He starts falling down into him. That's him falling. He's trying to Dan Burns trying to get to the ball. Bentancur's trying to stop a man from running by wrapping himself around his body. I can't understand how that's not a foul.
That's because Dan Burn probably weighs 3 times as much as Bentancur and he's falling on him. That's why Bentancur's falling down. If this is a new precedent, like I say, they might as well start saying football's a non-contact sport. It is never a pen.
Get out the way.
Years.
Get out the way.
Yeah, but he's allowed to stand on his man.
But he's not standing on his man. He's not standing on his man.
That's because Dan Burns wrestling him.
No, he's not.
Dan Burns trying to play the ball. I think this is the one bit I think this is the one part of the because I'm looking at the Sky Sports to put like the holding threshold for an offence. And I think the one bullet point that actually makes this a penalty is clear impact on the opponent's opportunity to play or challenge for the ball. Now, if this ball after the flick on goes nowhere near Dan Burn, I don't think this is given as a penalty. But because the ball goes near Dan Burn and Bentancur is stopping him from going to the ball, like challenge for the ball, it's a penalty. I think it's one that we're all asking for. And it just, I mean, listen, personally, I thought it was, and it wouldn't be given because they never really are, but it was. But if you actually look at the rules of the Sorry?
If you look in the group chat, Terry, obviously not now, and you look at the replay that Patrick's put on, because he's put the other angle, that angle isn't as clear. If you look from the other angle, you will see exactly what I'm saying. And I'm not one who comes on here. People will tell you in the chat, I don't say things for the sake of it. If I think a decision's wrong, I'll tell you it's wrong. I've said we've got away with things before. But if this is going to be what's allowed, the game has gone to shit, and that's all I'm going to say because it's ridiculous.
I hear where you're coming from when you say that. I look at this. I know it's a different outcome. But you remember when the Liverpool fans were angry that Mo Salah's shoulder got hurt when in the Champions League final? I viewed it as don't start things you can't finish. Bentancur has initiated the contact. Dan Burn doesn't want to wrestle with him. Dan Burn doesn't want to have to try and push him away, but he grabs him. Doesn't try and win the ball, wraps himself around him. It's Bentancur that puts his head underneath Dan Burn's arm. Dan Burn at no point grabs him, shoves him under his arm, and then holds him in a headlock. He is trying to get to the ball, and we all know what Bentancur's doing. We've played football. He's trying everything to stop Dan Burn because if he faces him up and doesn't foul him, he has no physical chance of stopping him. So he has to impede him. It's so clear to me.
Ethan,
what do you say? What are you saying, mate? Go on.
Well, when you said about if you're not playing the ball, get out of the way, sort of thing. He has every right to stand his ground, in my opinion. Like, yes, he's like 7 foot tall, and he's gonna probably force him out of the way. And so when that ball comes in, they're tussling for the ball, but if he's imposing himself on Bentancur, and then they're both wrestling. Of course, he's going to force himself on Bentancur and going to make Bentancur move. If Bentancur moves and falls over because of him impeding him, say like pushing him, that's not Bentancur's fault that he hasn't got out of the way because he hasn't needed to get out of the way. So if Bentancur falls and Burn falls on top of him because of the movement Burn has created towards him, then surely that's either 50-50 challenge and it's not a foul, or it's not a foul anyway because Burns just forced himself on Bentancur and fallen over with him.
Bentancur never looked at the ball, so how is he support? I mean, I get, again, is he supposed to always look at the ball? No, but at least make one attempt to look at the ball. You could play that whole thing five times slow. Not one point does Bentancur ever look at when the ball's kicked.
Okay, so.
Ever.
if Bentancur isn't looking at the ball, right? But just because Dan Burns looking at the ball doesn't mean he has no intention on trying to get a foul. For instance, because if if he's looking at the ball, but like he's got Bentancur in front of him, and he's like, oh, maybe I won't win the ball. Maybe I'm not. Obviously, this is like we can't say for sure. But like, if he doesn't think he's getting to the ball or whatever, then he's gonna have that in his mind that I can try and get a foul here if I like push him to the ground and I fall over as well.
The other angle shows it much better. I will say that.
So I understand that. Sorry,
I wouldn't call. Sorry, I wouldn't call it. I'll be honest. I wouldn't call it a headlock. However, yes, because of Dan Burns' height, Bentancur has his head under his armpit. I wouldn't call it a headlock because obviously he's not wrapping it around. But it's like I just think it's one of those like 50-50 challenges where it's like you like both players have tussled for the ball and the play goes on. Like you see that so much in the Prem.
Yeah, but I'm saying, but
go on, Kane.
The point that I'm trying to make is the only reason that was given as a penalty is because the ball, like Dan Burn has a realistic chance of winning that because the flick on, the ball goes into that area. If that ball gets headed away, I don't think this gets given as a penalty, and that's fine. But because the ball after the flick on goes where in that area, and Bentancur who has not yet looked at the ball and is holding Dan Burn and then falls down in front of him. I'm dragging Dan Burn down with him. That's stopping him from playing the ball, and therefore it's a penalty. That's the defining point.
The one thing I would say, there is another angle here. I'm taking a risk playing this, like even just in slow motion because of the way because the Premier League are bumps. Do you see again? For me, I listen, Ethan. A lot of what you said, I understand, and I think a lot of it holds water, and I understand why people see this differently. From my point of view, Bentancur initiates the contact and the wrestling between them. So I understand you're standing somewhere already. So this is the only time that standing in front of someone's acceptable. You're standing in this position. I'm here now. You knock the ball round me. I don't have to move out your way. But if I move myself into your space, so if I'm standing here and I have to step to my left and then you put the ball round me and then I step to my right to get in front of you and I block you, that's obstruction. That's a foul. So if Bentancur's standing in his place, you have some of your guys that are zonal marking. Romero standing there now. You can see on the screen, you've got Romero, you've got Richarlison are in their positions. If Dan Burns runs towards one of them and clatters into them, it isn't a foul. That's their position. But if Dan Burns running towards one of them and they take a step to their right to get in Dan Burns' way and they knock him over, that isn't the same as that isn't standing your ground. You are impeding someone. But when you look at this here, for me, I just don't see this the same way you guys do. I'll have to skip it in these cases. He is stopping Dan Burn from running to the area to go to try and win the header. For me, when you see this motion here, this is Bentancur has put his own head underneath him. He puts his own head underneath him to try and impede him. Dan Burn is still trying to run. All you then see is the player doing it. Yeah, he has got. He's still there. He's still got his arms out to the side. It's Bentancur. Hang on. Yes, because Bentancur puts his arm over Dan Burns to stop him. That's if you're trying to listen. Someone who did MMA and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. If I've got someone under, if I'm trying to get out of that position, what I don't do is wrap my arm around. He wrapped his arm around Dan Burns and then falls backwards to stop Dan Burns. If Bentancur wants to get out of this situation, you don't wrap your arm around Dan Burns. If Bentancur goes under that arm now, he could just move. He doesn't need to do that. But he wraps his arm around Dan Burns to stop him from getting to the ball for me. And that's why I understand why it was given. But I also agree with Kane. Had the cross come in and just been cleared, it would never have been given. It's because the ball goes to exactly where Dan Burns is. Bentancur has fouled him. But look, we'll go to some of the comments here and see what people have got to say. This is why the letter of the law argument is BS for everyone. The same rules will be used differently for another team. But Nav, this is the one thing I would say where this is different from an offside, or this is different from those goals that were conceded recently from those offside positions with the goalkeeper Donnarumma and with Van Dijk, because there is an element of interpretation. And I disagree with Kate and Ethan. I disagree with a lot of people in the comments, but I respect their view. I see that why they see it that way. I see it as Bentancur putting his head there, wrapping his arm around Dan Burns. I think what Bentancur's doing is what a lot of defenders and goalkeepers do when defending corners, is they look for a foul. They try and manufacture a foul so the referee blows it the other way. This time he's had a Roy. He's come a cropper for me. Kate missed the fact that Bentancur never had any time looked at the ball. He held on for too long. Hated when Maya Mustafi and David Luiz did this. Unnecessary. I agree.
Half of that bit, those build-up stills that you showed, was before the ball was even in play.
Yeah, but he still carried on after the ball was in play because otherwise
he couldn't move because he was in a frigging headlock.
Oh, right. Sorry, yeah, he's in the headlock with the guy who has his arms in the air. That's right. Yeah, I forgot about that.
But I can have my arm in the air and still have Jimbo in a headlock. Trust me, I've tried.
Yeah, but if Jimbo's pulling your arm in, that's Jimbo wanting the contact, isn't it?
Yeah, Jimbo's pulling the arm down.
Burns is trying to lift his arms up like this, right, to say, look, he's holding me. The only reason he can't get his left arm up because Bentoncourt's keeping it down. Yeah, listen, we've got the facts here. We've got the facts.
Can I just make one point? Sorry, but
of course you can, mate.
After all of this, right? Was it clear and obvious? That's the real question.
Exactly.
Was it clear and obvious?
That I will agree with you on. Well, and I say this after every one of these. For me, it's only clear and obvious if the referee hasn't seen it. It looks like he did. That element I can completely and utterly agree with you on. I'd love to know what they said. I'd love to know what the referee said in real time. And the linesman said, and then what they say, because they'd have to miss something as an example. So I agree with that. Bentancur is allowed to stand his ground. Rory, I agree with you. That isn't standing your ground. That's consistently stepping into somebody's path. You're not allowed to do that. It's called obstruction.
So next time, it just move away and go on, you go through and
No, you mark him. You mark him and then challenge him for the ball.
We're never going to agree. We're never going to agree on this one ever.
You don't. This is my view, Kate. What you do, you don't just let him go. You defend him. You don't foul him.
I can flip it to you as well, though, Kate. What is Dan Burns supposed to do? Is he supposed to just run as soon as Bentancur touches him? He's supposed to just stand there and go, well.
But you know the funny thing? I can't stand Dan Burn, but he was as shocked as anyone that it was even being checked for a penalty because he knew
that's his normal look. That's his normal look, right? That's because he ain't got a lot of oxygen up there. It's his normal look. Terry, to stop players from committing fouls, it comes at corners. The ref should warn the defenders before the. No, I actually disagree. One thing I will say is this: I'm sick and tired of people committing fouls, the referee blowing the whistle, and then warning them not to do it. Just give the fucking penalty. Why would you warn them? This ain't rugby. Dan Burn is wrestling the guy, and you are saying it's a pen. This will never be given in another game. Well, it has been given in other games. We go back to Crystal Palace versus Bournemouth, Manchester United versus Fulham. That's two off the top of my head instantly, and I would say there were less fouls than this one. So they've been given this season. I'm sure there are others that have just eluded my immediate memory, but I can think of two very, very quickly. Chelsea got cheated out of a red. So that's from Bentancur did an ankle breaker and nothing happened. Yeah, I agree. I looked at that back. I don't disagree. Like, I think he hit the ankle first rather than the shin to ankle, but I understand why you're angry. City wins are not sustainable like Liverpool at the start of the season. Do you agree with that, Hamza? Do you feel like you're unsustainable at the moment?
Listen, it was a difficult. I can't believe I take that as a loss, 4-0 loss, because I've got standards. That's a joke. The way we capitulated 2 games in a row is a joke, like literally. There was no difference between this and Spurs' team. There was no difference. The only thing we won a game, at least. Like, how do you capitulate? 5-1 up. Pep Guardiola, the greatest manager. And the downfall comes on one issue. We can't sustain this. This is shit, the substitution. Nico G came off. Stones in. Stones couldn't hack in midfield. Stones tried it against Villa. Couldn't do it against Villa in midfield with Rico Lewis. A lot of Pep's downfall will be these players. Some of this group of players. Which I said it. You need standards of quality players. What's most worrying thing to me, Terry, about this team is the fact that they can't get out the press. We were so good if you pressed Man City, Gundogan and all these guys, Mahrez, they'll get the ball, they'll keep the ball, they'll just play the ball around you. Savio comes on, he falls over, he can't hold off the ball. At least Doku was better. Yeah? John Stones comes in, capitulates in defense. Matthias Nunes gets walked past by this Kevin guy, a Brazilian guy. Just goes past him a couple of times. I'm looking at this, I'm thinking, we've got a lot of problems. And Arsenal have got a big squad. Arteta knew what he was doing. I warned people, what they did last couple of years. It's an astronaut. No, it's an astronaut. Now, look what they've built. Every position, they can lend me Ben White. He can start my football club. They can lend me some of their players. I got Haaland, fair enough. Omar Mamouche is on a bench at 250k, 280 a week. He's going to AFCON in 10 days. 10 days he's going to AFCON. Have you seen Mamouche play? He comes on 2 minutes to go against Leeds. My attacking threat I bought for 80 million as a replacement for Julian Alvarez. I'm thinking, I don't know what's Pep doing. Tactically, he's making mistakes. He's dying on the sword of Savio, who I should have sold to Kate's team. And I pray Kate's team comes back. 70 million. 70 million. Oh, I had 40 million for Rico Luis as well. Wallahi, no. Wallahi, I'm gone. No way I'm gone. Wallahi, I'm gone. No way. 110 million for that, bro. See you, Terry. I can't.
Oh, mate, he's a character, isn't he? He's a character, the old boy. He's the character, the old boy.
He set himself off.
Yeah, I like the whole standards. Like the whole standards thing's crazy. They didn't lose, they won, but I do understand it. And it's what I was trying to talk to David about earlier on Straight Facts. I run like a tracker, and I do it every season where I track the points that everyone's teams are that they're working towards. First 2 or 3 games are crazy because some teams are tracking towards maximum points because they win the first game. But once you start getting 13, 14 games in, it gives you a truer reflection of the direction you're going in. But I also track the amount of goals people are conceding, the amount of goals they're scoring, because those 3 metrics, I know there's loads of underlying metrics, but if you're scoring a lot of goals, conceding very few, and winning a lot of games, the likelihood of you winning the league so high compared to a team that's winning and scoring but conceding loads. Equally, if you're a team that concedes loads and doesn't score, there's all different variants in that. You might be a team that concedes very little, but if you don't score a lot, you're going to end up drawing too many games. And that's the one thing for City why they're in the title race. They're going to be there or thereabouts, but they're just a level below Arsenal. It's the 6 goals in 2 games. Yes, they've won the matches, but I think every City fan in their heart of heart knows if they were playing, again, like a Newcastle tonight, if they were playing Arsenal, Chelsea, even some of the other teams lower down the table that maybe a little bit more potent, or a little bit better at defending, it's a good chance they lose or drop points in these games. And I think Kel was right. It feels like it's kind of coming. Nav here says, wait, Terry, how are you supposed to mark 7-foot Dan Burns? Well, not by fouling him. I mean, look at it this way. There are rules in basketball, right? You can't break them just because a guy is a foot taller than you. I used to fight. If I'm up against the guy that's same weight category as me, but he's a foot taller and got a 7-8 inch reach advantage, I'm not allowed to suddenly kick him in the balls just because he's taller than me. You have to still follow the same rules. That Dan Burns' size is absolutely irrelevant, in my personal opinion. You've still got to follow the rules.
You play the ball, not the man in that case. It's the opposite for like a small person. With a small person, you body them out, you play the man, not the ball. But in Dan Burns' case, I don't think anyone in the Premier League is going to be able to play like that man. So you play the ball, you go for the ball, you either get in front of him with a header, or you just make enough of a nuisance of yourself to put him off. That's how you defend.
Yeah, for a lot of people upset about it, to be honest with you, this is why I agree partly that it's a penalty as well. Forget what we all think individually. At the beginning of the season, you can go back and read the articles that came out around about the middle of August. They said they were going to clamp down on this. You also saw Gary O'Neill speak on Monday Night Football about 4 or 5 weeks ago. said that one of the reasons there's so many more goals going in from set pieces, why more teams, and he knows this as a manager talking to other coaches, why more teams are going long throws into the box is because the players now know with VAR, they're going to concede a lot more penalties if they're fouling people. There's actually far less fouling and tossing going on in the box now. It's why so many goals are being scored from set pieces, because the players are just not doing what Bentancur did, because VAR and the refs have said we're clamping down on it. I prefer that. I've never understood why only from corners and sometimes free kicks. We've seen it where defenders rip people's shirts, stopping them from getting to balls. And it's like, play on. Anywhere else on the pitch, they give a foul. But if you breathe on a defender, instantly the foul goes the other way. I've never been a fan of that. So maybe I'm a little bit sensitive to this as well, because that's something I've been asking for them to introduce for a long time. Challenge for the ball, not each other. We see more goals in the game. And then the teams that are genuinely good at set pieces benefit from it. I prefer more goals. This here says, I'm so pissed off. City team. Oh, sorry, I would have done this super chat. Thank you very much for it, bro. This here from Nav, it says, my head slowly turning before I was 50-50. But I think we can go for the league. The next few games will tell the tale if you start to beat your Leeds United's, Bournemouth, etc., because you beat the big boys. The water moving for me. The water's moving for me, trembling. It's a Chelsea fan. Look, I was actually looking at the numbers, right, for yourselves. If you do win your next two games, you'll be tracking towards 76 points. You want to put this into context. If Arsenal win their next two games, they're tracking towards 91 points. Chelsea can win the league, but two things have got to happen. You've got to start winning. Your win percentage has got to go up by 5 to 10%, and you need Arsenal to collapse. Both those two things need to happen at the same time. It could happen, but what you at least need to do is be there ready for them. What you don't want to do is Arsenal draw tomorrow night and lose to Villa, but then you follow suit. You draw both games. Does that make sense? And then you've let them off the hook. You need to be there. So listen, I'm excited. I hope Chelsea make this race tight. I really do. I don't want it to be over quickly. It'd be boring. City playing like the start of the season. Liverpool and Newcastle are refed differently at STP. St. James's Park. Shocking decision is what Ross the boss has got to say. Well, is that your burner account, Kate, or Ethan? Is that you two?
No, it's just someone else that's got sense.
4 goals on 0.9 xg. Midfield fouled to close space. Yeah, that's what was also crazy about it. Wasn't there were some really good goals that they scored. Even I saw a few people having a go at Donnarumma for like palming out that corner. I watched it about 5 times trying to work out if he maybe could have caught it, but he was under a lot of pressure. It was just a wonder strike. Yeah, but yeah, I really wanted them to do it. It would have just been great rhetoric for me. As bad as we were, but VAR decision was absolutely disgusting. Big up yourself, Jerome. Long time no see. Spurs fan. I'm not getting gassed for tomorrow. I hear you, Nav. I think I've done all these super chats now. I think it's a penalty, but not consistent enough. Yeah, listen, I hear you on that. And that, I'll be honest with you, I think is the element where there is a fair case to be heard. But aside from the penalty, you haven't really said to yourselves, like, do you both feel disappointed in terms of the performance in that game? Because Spurs, maybe it was slightly better than the last 2 or 3 games, to be fair. But from a Newcastle point of view, Kane, and I haven't got onto you at all yet, it was a chance to capitalize on that really big win against Everton, get back-to-back wins. Would that be the first time this season you had back-to-back wins in the Prem?
No, we were on 2 wins back-to-back.
Yeah, it would have been 3. It would have been 3. Yeah, it would have been 3 wins back-to-back. But you drew to Spurs. How are you feeling, Kane?
Disappointed, man. I think, do you know what it is? The one player that typified Newcastle's performance was Joe Linton tonight. I thought he was excellent working. His work rate was excellent towards the back, and then he would make great runs. He would receive the ball in places, and then we'd get to the edge of the Spurs box, and I don't know what happened. We all just every player seemed to have like a fucking brain fart, and I don't know what it was, but we bossed Spurs like no one's business this whole game, and I'm so just disappointed in the final third performance. It took an absolute wonder strike from Bruno to put us ahead, and yeah, we got a penalty that contentious, shall we say then, to put us ahead. And do you know what? I think the goals we let in were just stupid mistakes at the back. Dan Burn, but for Romero. So I mean, I want to give credit to Romero. That was a great header. But Dan Burn, you shouldn't be letting him get across you like that, man. That was poor. And the less I can say about the second goal. I mean, fuck me.
What, that world-class scissor kick?
Yeah. World-class, I mean,
at 2 miles an hour.
Fuck me. Like, honestly, I couldn't believe it when it came. I was like, what's going on here, man? He not only that, so he's on the floor, man. He's on the floor. He gets up, he runs, and then takes it off his fucking shin. And I don't know what happened to Malik. The ball's rolling towards Malik, and I feel like someone took control of him, and he just sort of moved his legs out the way, and then it just rolls in the back of it. I'm just like, what the fuck's going on here, man? Like, they had of the entire game, they had 2 shots on target, and both of them were goals, and it's just like, it was such a sucker punch. And I mean, we ran them so hard, and it's just one of those games, Terry, where fucking hell, man, we should have won this one. This is outrageous. I'm so disappointed. I'm so annoyed. I'm so frustrated. It's probably the best. I feel like Jimbo after Kate's been through me, like put me in headlocks.
I wonder where that was going then.
Hell,
I feel like Jimbo when I thought you were going to say. I feel like Jimbo when Kate's been through me. I'm like, what the fuck? What are we doing? What are we doing?
Maybe that as well, man. No, I swear, honestly.
That'll be later. It weren't a penalty. It weren't a penalty. It weren't a penalty.
This is a headlock. This is a headlock.
Safe word. Dan Burns. Yeah.
You've got a camera in my bedroom. That's exactly what's going to happen.
Yeah, me and Jimbo. I set up a subscription. It's the Jimbo files we call it. It's great. It's brilliant. It's Jimbo great.
Do you know what? What's really annoying is VAR obviously is meant to be clear and obvious, and it's just little things like in the first half the ball went out and Newcastle got a goal kick and it went out by a mile. Now VAR's not allowed to come in and say that should have been a corner, but that was clear and obvious. So that things like that, this is why it's not being used properly, and it's so frustrating because I know it's only a corner, but we may have scored from that. But I mean, we were poor. I said at 1-1 to Jimbo, if we walk away with anything from this game, it's absolutely like outrageous. But then when you got the dodgy pen, I changed my mind and said, if there's any justice, we're equalised. But when it was 1-1, I couldn't believe it. I thought Newcastle were better than that. I thought you would put us to bed because the first half we were terrible. And the fact that both our shots on target come from Romero, my captain, is worrying.
Yeah. I hear you. I mean, honestly, for me as a United fan, it was the best result. There's a lot of the teams in the mid area of the league this week playing each other. Yourselves, I think. Obviously, you've got Liverpool playing Sunderland tomorrow, as an example. I think Aston Villa play Brighton. I want to say Aston Villa's playing Brighton. Aston Villa, Brighton.
Aston Villa.
Sorry,
I think it's Aston Villa, Arsenal.
No, that's at the weekend. That's tomorrow. Tomorrow you've got Brighton, Aston Villa, Liverpool versus Sunderland. So, I mean, at least 2 teams in that middle area tomorrow are going to drop points. Hopefully, they're both draws, and we can beat West Ham on Thursday. It'd be nice just to, give us a bit, because at some point you guys are all going to catch us in my heart of hearts. So I'm just.
I'll just be absolutely praying for a really bad West Ham penalty. I'm just going to put it out
there. I bet he will. Forget the penalty, but Spurs are terrible, and Frank is not getting anything out of those players. Newcastle absolutely dominated us.
I will say, I mean, I'm speaking from, I guess, as a rival. I didn't see what Spurs' plan were against us. Like, I didn't see, they're trying to do this. It was kind of just, they were trying to play. I could see they were trying to play out the back, which kind of played into our hand. I think in the first half, I think we won the possession in your third more times than you've been in our box. And I think that was quite telling. But the whole game, I couldn't really see a Spurs plan other than, let's somehow work the ball to Kudus and then just hope he does something. And I have to say, Lewis Hall tonight, wow. what a performance! I mean, Kudus was very quiet up until that one cross he got in. But
weird. I saw it the other way. I thought Kudus. I'm not saying he beat. I don't think Kudus beat him every time, but I think Kudus gave Hall a really hard game. That was my interpretation.
Well, I mean, for me, I think like when it comes to those one-on-one duels, I'm not expecting any fullback to completely shut out a winger. And like, there's going to be opportunities where that once or twice where the winger will get the best of that that fullback. But for the most part, Lewis Hall was just right on top of him, wouldn't give him any space. And then even a couple of times when he'd receive the ball and Kudus would try and press him, he was just passing the ball around him and or dribbling around him. There was a couple of times where Kudus would press and somehow Lewis Hall just pops out the other side and then we're on the attack again.
I will say this, he completed all 3 of his dribbles against Lewis Hall tonight. You know, his crossing accuracy was at 30%. Yeah, I'm only going by foot mob here. I just thought Kudus. Listen, I look at it this way. I don't look at it like, I don't think Lewis Hall got absolutely annihilated. I just thought it was a really good battle where both will be feeling it in the morning. I get it both ways. I like Mohamed Kudus. I think he's a few players.
I like him too. I thought, like I said, that cross was a really good cross for the first goal. But I thought Lewis Hall did a really good job of at least minimizing a lot of what he was trying to do. I think if he completed 3 dribbles, I mean, to be fair, then I'll give Kudus his credit. He completed all 3 of his dribbles, but at the same time, in a full game of 90 minutes, that was only 3 dribbles. And I think a lot of that was as soon as the ball was getting played into Kudus, Lewis Hall was right behind him, like pressing him, and he was like causing fumbles off Kudus or forcing him to play it back. So I guess that's probably where the stats bear out. Because for me, on the eye test, I guess Lewis Hall did a really good job of managing Mohamed Kudus, and again, other than that one cross, kept him fairly quiet.
I think Frank was a bit late on his subs tonight. I don't know what you thought, Ethan, and I thought Brennan Johnson showed once again that he just doesn't fit Frank's system in any way. He was absolutely awful.
I think to go back to Kudus for a second, I thought Lewis Hall had a really good game tonight. I really did. I haven't watched too much of him, to be honest with you, but he looked really sharp. Kudus for me, yes, he completed his 3 dribbles, but whenever we got up the pitch, especially after the first half showing, we played it to Kudus, but he really slowed the game down for me. Like when we were on the break, we'd give it to him, and then he'd either stop and he'd either take a load of time, play the ball back, maybe try and take his man on. But it just really, from attacking point of view, when we're not scoring goals anyway, and we're relying on our centre back to come and score goals, there wasn't that tempo, there wasn't that urgency from anyone in that front line tonight. I don't think, but it for me it was really the nail was hit on the head with Kudus's performance. I'm not saying he had a bad game, but I'm saying he could have been a lot more urgent and had a lot more pace going forward to take his man on or do something a bit different instead of like stopping with the ball. I think Brennan Johnson, I really rate him as a player. I'll be honest, I'm sad that he doesn't fit into this Frank team because of all that time last season or the season before where you'd see him take on people or nick a goal at the back post. I wish he could be doing that more this season, but again, I think when we have like Kulusevski back, or maybe you try Odebear a bit more, start him. I'd like to see Odebear started. I think he's really, really good on the eye to watch and just needs a bit more time. I think that front line will be different. So yeah, we'll see. But again,
yeah. I hear that. Nav here said that's why I say they have to beat your lower teams and get past them low blocks. We can nullify that. We in for a shout this year, but still early doors. I agree. Listen, Chelsea have just got to cement what I thought was a really important point tomorrow evening, and we'll be live for it. I can't wait. If you don't play the ball and you impede the other player from playing the ball by blocking him by any means, clear foul, penalty all day long. What I will say, just looking in the group chats where everyone's been talking, looking on socials, some people think absolute stonewaller, some think no penalty. I think that leads me to one conclusion: is none of us are going to be proven right or wrong. We'll have our own views, and that's fair. that shows that it's a real subjective one. If there's such a, and there are Arsenal fans saying Stonewaller, but there are Arsenal fans saying not a penalty. So I think you've got a real mix on this one. I suppose I think a big part of it is personal feeling, in the sense of maybe as a United fan in recent years, I feel like we've had a lot of these kind of things not go our way, where I've seen players dragged down. Even the other day when we played Palace, I couldn't understand why Mateta was allowed to shoulder bars Delit in the chest and they got a clear chance on goal and no foul was given. Yet, if we breathed on one of their players and they fell over, it was instantly given the other way. So we all view these things differently. Look, I want to thank you guys for coming on. I want to thank our viewers, thank our super chatters and everyone who's tuned into the show. Really, I love it when there's a big decision in a game, though. It gives us a lot more to talk about. At least the whole conversation wasn't about Frankie and or out. Do you know what I mean? There was something else to actually go through. This is going to redirect you to Hussam's channel. No, MHF, sorry. So go and support the boys over there tonight as they're live. I'm back in the morning with Killing the Game, and we have Straight Facts in the afternoon with the lads, and then it'll be reacting to Arsenal, Chelsea, Liverpool all play tomorrow night. Until next time, people, take care. Goodbye. God bless. And we'll see you all again very, very soon. Peace.